read for us was a good 4 or 5 years ago, right? So this is like Old Home Week here. We're now going to have a musical interlude with Ken Schoch. And it's going to be happy.
Yeah. It's really not him. You don't have any hair.
Coming back. This is a song I wrote. It's in E flat, Stuart. A couple of years ago, my old high school girlfriend got in touch with me, and she was living down south, and we dated in junior high school, and then when I was a junior, and then as a senior, and she dumped me both times. And it was so much fun talking to her. And I had this jar of I had a U.S. history teacher who told us to put anything that mattered to us in a jar, and so time capsule, and so it was full of notes from Kathy, and so I dug them out and we read them to each other over the phone. It was really a magical time to just relive that whole that period. So anyway, and it was a day like this that I wrote it. It was really just lousy weather. It was much colder than it is today. I think it was in March though. And I was downtown in my car, and she called me, and I wrote down on the phone. I'm talking on the phone to Kathy on a rainy day. And so I was talking on the phone to Kathy. Windshield wipers back and forth, clearing my way. I'm headed into town, people going to work. It's another day. Everything's slow and everything's wet and waiting to grow. Coffee shop fills, papers unfold. I got nowhere to go. Talking on the phone to Kathy, she's far away. It's warm down there and the wind always blows the time away. I stayed in a bus on a mountainside, the valley below. I worked in a factory doing my time till it was time to go. Apart, that much I know. I'm not always where I wanna be. It's just the way it goes. Some things you carry, no matter where you are. Standing at the edge of the ocean, I saw a shooting star. Talking on the phone to Kathy on a rainy day, but it's warm down there and the wind always blows the time away. Boardwalks empty, streets clothed in shades of gray. I think I'm going south for the winter and getting out of the rain. Talking on the phone to Kathy on a rainy day, but it's warm down there and the wind always blows the time away. It's warm down there and the wind always blows the time away. It's warm down there and the wind always blows the time away.
How would I know? Who said that?
research chemist's son knows the ingredients for black powder. Mix. Place a small tab on a hard surface. Tap with hammer. Boom! Satisfying, and yet, take increasingly large amounts until the explosion is forceful enough to cause the hammer to breach the basement ceiling and land in the kitchen. Ingredients will be confiscated. BB guns fired over short distances cause sufficient pain to meet the barbaric needs of young boys, yet leave no lasting damage. Unless they blow off a critical part of the cellar furnace, in which case the guns shall be confiscated. Tag, a harmless game, except when the person designated as it is required to carry a speed bag with which to tag his opponents, preferably as hard as possible. Speed bag, you ask, a teardrop-shaped, soccer ball-sized object covered with hard leather, used by boxers to hone their punching speed and toughen their fists. Raised stitching on the bag when applied to a body leaves a satisfying Frankenstein-like welt which lasts for several days. If a non-it person cracks their head open on the basement's metal I-beam in an attempt to avoid a savage blow, and medical personnel are summoned, the cellar will be declared off limits and the bag confiscated. Lack of parental oversight? This was the 60s. Men donned fedoras and went off to work. And Stu's mother? Where was her maternal vigilance? Why was 1302 Quincy Drive, subdivision Green Acres, always the scene of our brutal games? Because Stu came home from school, scooped his mother from the living room floor where she passed out from alcohol and prescription drugs, and carried her to her room. Stu, best friend, brother, protector, never told a soul of what he had to do every day.
Tom Hoyer.
Not exactly keys. It's tough to come at this place in the rotation because I just can't bear the burden of the sadness. My life has been characterized primarily by indifference, as hard as I've tried. Okay. This is my father's dog tag, number 0680008. His admission ticket to World War II. If my own experience is any guide, he got it on May 11th, 1942, on induction. And he could have thrown it away on February 6, 1946, the day he was released. Instead, he kept it in the top drawer of his desk, where you could look at it every time he opened the drawer. Now it hangs here next to mine. What did it mean to him? Dad grew up at 1001 East Corby Street in South Bend, Indiana. He went to high school at Central High School, the town's only high school, and he attended college at Notre Dame, not more than a mile from his house. He joined the Army just before his graduation. The Army Air Corps sent him to England. When he came home, he married my mother, and they lived briefly at 1649 East Bowman Street before moving to 815 Patterson Drive, where they stayed for more than 50 years. Both addresses were only a couple of miles from his childhood home, as was the nursing home where he died last year. Except for the Army, he spent his whole life in South Bend, Indiana, in an area perhaps 10 miles in diameter. He was widely read and had a sophisticated mind, but he preferred to do his traveling close to home and inside his own head. Thoreau's statement, "I have traveled widely in Concord, Massachusetts," could have been Dad's credo too. When he chose to open the top drawer and look at his dog tag, I think he must have felt as a member of my generation might feel looking at the stub of his Woodstock ticket. I was there for the main event of my generation. That was enough.
We have two more readers. Kathy Winfield.
and they make no sense. I don't know. But we'll give it a go. Gravity. It amazed us when we were young. The ball went up, the ball went down. We learned how to jump up, and gravity would bring us down. As we got older, we learned about Einstein's general theory of relativity and the whole time-space continuum thing. But basically, we think of gravity as what keeps us rooted to Earth. Without it, we'd be flying off into space. But somewhere along the way, something happened. Gravity no longer was an outside physical force. It had somehow latched onto us, attaching itself to our skin. Lines and sags and bags started cropping up unannounced. We fought it. People have tried all sorts of ways to defy gravity, from facelifts and Botox to duct tape and even hanging upside down. But gravity always wins. In some tribal cultures, the more lines and bags someone carries with them, the wiser they are thought to be. I'd like to believe that's true. But I'm no longer going to fight gravity. I'm going to embrace it. Those lines we carry with us are our badges of honor, for each line represents the trials and tribulations throughout our lives. So the next time you look in the mirror, don't curse gravity. Be amazed by it again. Smile. Let those lines deepen. Carry those bags under your eyes with pride. For it is gravity that allows us to show the world our journey through the time, and we have survived it.